Sounds as if the rain has abated outside, so the coaching voices can be put away for questions. Start with just a note of disappointment after last year's SEC Network ad involving Jimbo Fisher, Marty Smith, and Ryan McGee. We all anticipated that trio to be offered a country music recording contract, and it hasn't happened yet. And I would just express that disappointment with a smile. Our next coach is Jimbo Fisher, the 2020 National Coach of the Year finalist, 2013 National Coach of the Year, one of 3 current SEC active head coaches to have won a national championship. He has a 9-2 overall bowl record, which is which is among the best winning percentages ever, including a 3-0 mark in his leadership of the Texas A&M football program. Go back to Destin. A lot of you had expectations about conversations that would take place. We're at dinner. Jimbo with his wife, me with my wife, walked in and we had a conversation about something I've mentioned repeatedly, which is Jimbo's son, Ethan, who has a rare genetic disease, Fanconi anemia. That's resulted in Jimbo being involved in the start of a nonprofit called the Kids First Fund. That conversation was about a trip to Minneapolis and really positive news about his son's health, but also about the impact being made in scientific research by Kids First Fund. In the middle of football and all of the other things we like to talk about, name, image, and likeness, transfer portals, this nonprofit has raised almost $12 million for Fanconi anemia research in 11 years since. But at a personal level, to hear the positive news about his son, Ethan, was truly rewarding. It's my privilege to introduce to you the 14th Coach of the Week by schedule, Texas A&M head football coach Jimbo Fisher.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Great to see y'all. As we know, this time of year, it's when I get to come over here, it means we're ready to have ball, and that's the funnest time of our life as coaches. We get back to coaching and doing the things we got to do. But I hope everybody's had a good summer. We've had a good summer, a busy summer, fun summer as it goes across. But excited about our football team, as everyone is this time of year. Got great new additions to the class coming in that we're excited about with some. The older guys, it's just fun watching them develop and play, and very pleased with our off season as far as it goes. But back to spring, I think some of the things that went on last year in our team, we were 8-4, and disappointed in that we didn't play as well as we needed to in some critical situations, but still very excited. We had some very young players because of injuries that had to play, and last year we had to bring those guys along slowly, but right now I think that's turned into a strength for us, and with a young center and a young tackle, and some situations occurred at corner, situations occurred at wideout that I think have let a lot of our young guys develop, and I'm very excited about our team coming up. But as everybody is, everybody in this league has players. Everybody in this league has good coaches, so it's what you do and how you play, and we can sit up here and say what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, how good we feel, but it's about what we do and creating a culture within our organization, which we feel like we have. The young guys have adapted to it very well, and I'm very pleased with our senior leadership right now, with a lot of guys jumping out and doing a really good job. You'll see 2 of them here today, in Damani and Layden. And where we're at, I think our coaching staff, the new additions with Steve Adazio and DJ Dirkman, those guys have really fit in and done a great job and added some different twists and nuances to our program. And they're great ideas. They've all been very successful at different places they've been. So excited about that part of it. Like I say, it was one thing today. I actually saw rain. That's the first time I've seen rain in 3 months. It's been 100 to 106 in College Station for 3 straight months, and I didn't know rain existed. I thought it went away. So I'm glad that hopefully y'all can push some of that rain our way to there. That's the biggest news of the day for me, that it does rain again. I didn't know if it did, so excited about that. But like I say, we're getting ready for camp coming up. We'll report next week as a staff to have everybody full go on Monday and what we do, and looking forward to the season where we're going. Questions?
All right, thank you, Coach. If you have a question, raise your hand. Lisa, Jim, or Jesse will get a microphone to you. Coach, we'll start right here in the center aisle, right in front of you, about 6 rows back.
Hi, Jimbo. Jeff Spiegel, ABC 3340 in Birmingham.
Yes, sir.
When you look back at the press conference in May, do you have any regrets over how that was handled? Do you feel like you owe Nick an apology? And how did things stand between you and him?
Listen, we're great. We 2 competitive guys that go at it. Listen, we all learn from things we do in our business. You got 2 competitive guys on a topic that is very everywhere, as they say. There's no rules in this thing and where it goes, and each state has different laws and everything. And like he said, I heard a statement he made, the arguments we had in the staff room and on the basketball court and all those things. But on the basketball court, we didn't have them. We were always on the same team. So we usually had them against other people. So I have great respect for Nick. And that's unfortunately our thing went public, and that's sometimes that happens in this world. Nothing's private anymore, is it? Anyway, but no, we have great respect for Nick, and we all learn from him. We all will learn. Like he said, he was learned. Hopefully, I learn from things we do and say, and we move on from there. But have great respect for him and their program, like always.
Coach, we'll go over here to our left on the second row.
Coach Fisher, Drew DeArmond, WZZN Radio in Huntsville, Alabama. You did say some very poignant things about Nick Saban, and then and NIL is very real. We know that it's here to stay. And one of your staff members was caught on video telling some recruits that they were going to be paid very well for playing football.
No, that's not what he said. Those guys paid down there very well. And what he meant was he was a young guy, had been there about a month. He was doing a turn. The guys behind those seats are what pay for your program. Those are donations and boosters, and how he said it and how he spoke. Do we all have NIL? Yes, we do. But that's what he was meaning, and it's a transform thing that we say with all recruits. The guys behind those things are the guys who pay for our program and what we do and the donations, and that's what it was. He'd been here 1 month.
And what do you take from you worked for Coach, you worked for him at LSU, and you used the terms like organization. What's the thing that you took most from him that has influenced your coaching career after working for him and seeing what he's built at Alabama?
I think diversity in organization and the different aspects of a program as they've grown. I think he was one of the first guys into mental health and things, which has been a very forefront thing for me ever since I've been a coach and as an assistant or as a head coach that we put a lot of time in. I think now is jumping out. I used to joke in the ACC meetings. I told some guys sometimes, I said, the head coach, I said, the biggest issue we have in college football and in my is mental health. And he said, well, that's not our problem. I said, well, I think it is for everybody. We just didn't realize it. And I think that was one of the things he was in the forefront about, getting help and getting guys to understand how to handle the different pressures that they go through as a person, and each year it's changing, and because of social media and the different things that are going on, I think it's huge, and I think those aspects in organization, and he's a great football coach.
Coach, we're going to stay over here on our left side in the fourth row back. Dennis.
Dennis Dodd, CBS.
Now, you walked out on me earlier, daggone, when I was in there talking.
You're going to get us later, so we got you half an hour.
Okay, I'm just giving you a hard time,
It's
Dennis.
good. No, just a hypothetical question. If there's no NIL, do you and Nick have this public beef? In other words,
no, because of the things, the way what he said when I said, that we're moved on from it. But NIL, like I say, guys, there's no rules. Each state has its own rules. It's not just an NCAA thing or a national thing. There's each state, like for instance, in Texas, we cannot bring up NIL to a recruit. We can't say it, we can't promise. All we can say, if guys on our team have it, that's all we can say. Other states can prevent written contracts. They can send you a written contract to a guy. I've been going through that in a recruiting thing it's just the world we're in, and we're frustrated because there's no unification of what happens and the way it happens. You know what I mean? And it's just a different day and time. But listen, change is inevitable. That's the rules we have to play by, so we all have to adapt and adjust. And if you either adapt and adjust or you don't, one of the two.
Coach, we're going to go straight in front of me right on this near aisle.
Jimbo, David Nuno, Texags. With all three quarterbacks on campus since January, how has that competition evolved in having them all three together?
Very well, and I think they're learning off each other, and I think they're doing a great job of watching each other and being very competitive with each other, but also helping each other. Very pleased. Finally, as I say, at the end of spring, you finally saw Max starting to grasp what we were trying to do. You saw Haynes' health really come in. He knew, and I think really in the last month, while I've seen his feet and the way he's throwing the ball has really jumped out at me. Connor, so natural and effortless, and this, as he grasps what's going on, it's going to be a fun battle. And last year we really needed three. You saw Zach in the Alabama game. As I said before, he hit a knee hit, come back from that. In the Auburn game, he actually popped his shoulder back in place, and the doctor said he could play, so he played. He went through it. You really need a third guy. And having three guys, that's rare in today's time. But I think we got three outstanding guys, and I'm very excited to work with them.
Coach, we're going to go over to our right side near the back.
Hey, Jimbo, Travis Brown with the Bryan
Yes, sir.
College Station Eagle. Two questions. First, a lot of scheduling models thrown around. If there was three permanent opponents, which three would you like to see A&M have? And then just your overall, what are some of the strengths of your offensive line?
Well, I think the scheduling model, I think, is critical, especially as conferences expand. I think the ability to get everybody to play everybody, because you're talking about a conference champion now, and not being able to play each other and make sure you do when a guy is there in school is going to be critical. And I think conference champions can be determined by now by how the schedule falls. And that's, that's never been the case. It's because you always played them all. But I think probably the model of 3 is much better because I think it gives you more consistency and, helps keep some traditional rivalries, because I think that's the one thing we're trying to do in college football that, to me, makes college football special. The rivalries of college football and trying to keep as many traditions as you can with the expanding world. Because listen, things are inevitable. They're always going to change. But if you can keep as much as you can, I think it's great. So I think that model will be there. What was the second part of your question? I'm sorry.
Strength of the offensive line.
Oh, the strength, which I was like I said, last year we had to play a true center, a true freshman center that only had half a camp and never played center because we have an injury to a guy, and we had a right tackle who had to play as a freshman. And that was tough times at Limes last year. But being able to have that now, I think, has really turned into a strength, and I think is going to be a strength of our football team, one of them. Very excited about our offensive line. Coach Adagio's done a tremendous job. But he and Layden and Bryce and Trey Zoom now playing at left tackle along with Mocha and some of those other guys in the battles that are going to be had, size, athleticism. I think Steve's done a great job. And so something we struggled with early last year, I think it's going to be a really big strength of our football team. And I'll say this, in this league, you got to have guys that turnovers and big plays determine the outcomes of games more than anything, and you got to have them. But in this league, if you look in the history of it, the guys who can play in the trenches on the offensive and defensive lines have always had tremendous success.
Hey, Coach, we're going to go right here in front, just on this near aisle.
Good morning, Coach. Johnny Ballpark Franks with Franks Media in Nashville and Huntsville. In your coaching career, you've been very fortunate to be with programs from your assistant coaching days to now as a head coach, to be with programs where the realistic, end of the year thing is to win a national title.
Yep.
How does that prepare you year in and year out?
Well, I think you know how to get there. I think not, all right, the expectations are, but all those places, we had a 20-game winning streak at Auburn. We won national titles at LSU. We won national titles and won 29 in a row at Florida State. So it's not just the expectations of it, but knowing how to put it in place. And I'll say this about our program right now. From a depth standpoint and a competitive balance, listen, when you're a great team is when your practices are so heated and so competitive and that you can't take a day off as a player because someone's taking your job. That's when you really become, and the first time from a depth standpoint, not from a great player standpoint, but from a depth standpoint, that we're getting to that point right now at A&M at a level which I'm very excited about, with some young guys pushing older guys getting better, guys. It's going to be a heck of a battle, and it's got me the most excited. So I think when you're talking about winning national championship, it's not just understanding how to handle the expectations, it's organizing and structuring the team to get to those points. And I think we're really right now at the beginning of that stage where we can do it consistently, and I'm excited about the future of our program, really am.
Okay, Coach, we're going to go over here to our left side, the fourth row.
Yes, sir.
Nubias Wilborn, AL.com. You earlier mentioned Calzada popping his shoulder out. One, what was that game like against Auburn, and what is Auburn getting in Zach Calzada?
Listen, Zach is a tremendous human being. I have utmost respect. I hate to lose Zach. No lie. I mean, Zach is a competitor. He has tremendous arm talent. He's competitive. He's tough. He's smart. And he's a team guy. Zach will do anything in the world to win for his teams. As you say, stand in there. And as they say, when your quarterback takes shots like that and does things like that, your team has great respect and plays hard. And I think you're getting a great human being with a very talented football player. And it's going to be a pain in our tail when we play him. I know that. I know he's getting a battle right now. But Zach is a very talented guy, and they're blessed to have him. And I know he'll do a great job for him. What did he say?
Memories of that game. Memories of
the Auburn, that game. I mean, looking over on the sideline and going, I got to put a walk on him, Blake Bosa. I was very confident in, but he looked at me and those big eyes and scared. And then the ability for him to play with that shoulder, and not only play, but play well and make plays and make throws. I mean, it's one of the great memories I have as a coach, because football is a game of sacrifice. Listen, we don't want guys to ever be hurt. We don't want guys to ever play where their bodies can be injured for a long period of time. But football is a game. There's going to be times like that you have. And to me, it's just a great honor to have coached somebody that tough and that competitive.
Okay, we're going to go to the right side on the far aisle, near the back.
Brent Zorneman, Houston Chronicle. Jimbo, you've long had a policy that true freshmen did not talk to media. Mm-hmm. Now, how do you adjust that in the NIL days when they are now available for pay?
Well, we're going through that whole process right now of how we do it, and guys that are ready for it. We're trying to make sure, it's not just that you don't want them, you want them to make sure they're ready to talk to media. You know what I mean? And we think they are, because, listen, I know y'all want sound bites and y'all want news, and freshmen are the best place to get it. I understand that part of it, but we'll make sure that those guys are the guys who are ready for it and going through it in the future.
Okay, Coach, we'll go right down here in front, second row. Bob, on the left.
Hey, Jimbo. Bob Holt, Arkansas Democrat. I had a two-part question. going there against your 5th season, I know you've recruited at a high level. How do you feel about the overall strength of the program and just how you are going into season 5? And then I know obviously disappointing you don't have Anais here. I mean, kids screw up. What was your reaction to that? And what do you think? How do you think he'll respond to it and bounce
Well, with
back?
Anais, I mean, listen, we're gathering all the evidence and the things that go on, then we'll make a comment. We have no comment at this time. I feel, like I said today earlier, I feel as great about our program right now as I have since I've been there because of the depth of it, because of how we're recruiting, what we're recruiting, and I think the foresight to be, a year ago, to be 4th in the country, to be one game. We're the only SEC team with one loss in the playoff world to never get in the playoff. I mean, I thought we were, at that time, as good as anybody in the country. I really did. I mean, Alabama had a great team, maybe the 2nd best team, but like to have a shot in the playoff. But hey, that's part of it. Should have won them all. And felt very good. Disappointed that we didn't play as well last year, had some injuries, but still, it doesn't matter. You still have to finish, and we didn't finish at the end. But saying all that, I like where we're at right now. I like the mentality. I think we've been to the highs, been to some disappointment right there, but we have depth and talent, and I'm looking forward to the competitive battles in practice, which are going to allow us to develop. Because listen, you are what your habits say you are on a daily basis. And when pressure comes, that's what's coming to the surface. And you have to practice that way because you know somebody's there to take your job. It makes a lot better habits created. And I think that's what we have to do, and we have to learn to finish at the end of games. That's the thing that got us last year.
Coach, we'll go right down here in front of you in the 2nd row. Philip.
Philip Marshall, Auburn 247. How you doing, Jimbo?
How you doing, Philip? Great to see you, buddy.
You've got LSU starting quarterback. Auburn's got your starting quarterback. How crazy is all this?
South Carolina's got Oklahoma starting quarterback. USC's got Oklahoma starting quarterback. Wild, wild west, isn't it? It is crazy. It's the times we're in, and that's just the world. And did you ever think it would come to that? No. But at the same time, it's not transferred. There's reasons to transfer. I get that, but I think, sometimes I hope these guys will at least try to stick some things out at times. But there are reasons, and it makes it an interesting show. That's for sure.
All right, we're going to go straight in front of me, about 4 rows back. Kirk.
Kirk Bowles from the Austin American-Statesman. I don't think you mentioned the 3 permanent rivals that you personally would want. And do you feel like you have everything in place there now to be a top 10 program?
Yeah, I do. I mean, we've been it once. We've already done it once. We've been top 15 a couple times. We're in a position to do those things. But, I mean, of course, you want Texas. When Texas comes into the league, when that schedule comes in, you definitely, because of that rivalry. I think the LSU rivalry is a great rivalry. And then, but it's not, that's probably our 2 biggest. And Arkansas goes into that too, but I don't know if that one's, I don't think that was one of our 3 that they equated to us and what we did. But, I mean, you're going to play great teams all across the board, but you got to get those rivalries. And I would say right now, probably LSU and Texas, I think, will be definitely for sure. And I think our 3rd team on our gamut, if I'm not mistaken, was Mississippi State. It's another West team. I believe it's the way it was. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. But, I think the Texas rivalry is important. I think the LSU rivalry is important.
All right, Coach, we're going to go straight down in the front, about 3/4 of the way back.
Jimbo, Joseph Goodman, AL.com. This question comes from someone who transcribes interviews for a living. How do you speak so fast?
You got to get your thoughts out. You want to be here? How long do you want to be here? Huh? I think if I talk slow, as much as I get information, I give you lots of information in a short amount of time. I'm a reporter's dream. Dadgum. Huh? How could y'all be complaining about that? I could sit here, I'm going to be slow and drawn out. Let me think about it and where we're going, what we're doing. You want me to do all that? Heck, I get you in, I get you out. See, you know what I'm on? It's on a limited, our amount of time I'm used to in coaching. You only get so many hours with the player, this stupid 20-hour rule. Well, you get 1 hour meeting. You got to get as much information in as you can.
All right, other questions, raise your hand and we'll get a microphone to you. All right, we've got one down right here in front. Glenn.
You sounded like Saban when you were talking a second ago.
We're from the same place, so you know.
What is your wide receiver depth without Aeneas, and do you hope to have him back early in the season?
Like I said, I have no comment because I don't know all the information, and I'll get it. But I mean, Chase Lane is really, I really like what he did. And the thing where he was playing a year ago, I think Evan Stewart's evolution there, Devin Price, and that Moose Muhammad is a guy who played really well at the end of last year. I'm happy about him. Now, Kenyon Jackson's the guy we got, but he's been hurt off and on, so hopefully he's a big body. But these young freshmen I'm really excited about. There's some really good guys, and I mean, 3 guys that I'm extremely high on. You saw Evan, who was our MVP of our spring, which is, I've never had a freshman come in and do that. But then you got Chris Marshall, and then Noah Thomas, who I think are both highly, highly gifted, skilled guys that can jump in there. Plus, you got your tight end. You know, you're worried about your tight ends. And then the other thing about that, our backs, a chain is a big-time receiver, too. So the ability to throw the football, we get concentrated on receivers, but tight ends and backs are a big part of that now, too. And we've signed 3 very, very gifted tight ends, and I'm really, Jake in the spring, and the other 2 guys I'm really high on in the summer, too. So we'll see. And you got Max Wright coming back. You have Blake Smith in that group. So all those guys will have a chance. So we'll see. But receiver-wise, we feel good about it. And that's what I say. Our passing game, we got to get better. We need to throw better. If you go back, we were throwing for 4,000 yards before people did it. Back in 3,000 and 4,000 yards at Auburn, LSU, and on those days, we were throwing it everywhere. Florida State, we did it. Jameis and that whole crew. But then we've gotten some great backs. But we have to throw the football better, and we know that, and we will. And we know how to do it. So we'll get it down.
Okay, we'll go back over here to our left, second row. Bob?
You got 2 of them in. That's good.
Oh, yeah, I got another 2-parter for you. Kevin can help you out. It seems like the transfer portal players move around the league, but so do coaches. You hired, I guess, Ole Miss's defensive coordinator, DJ Dirkman. What do you like about him? What's he brought to y'all? And then you mentioned, you'd like to maybe have Arkansas be one of your permanent teams.
Well, I just said it's a rivalry in A&M history. You got to pick. You can only pick 2. Really, then you pick 2, and then we rotate off. But DJ goes back to my days when I was at Florida State. He was at Florida, and he was a coordinator there. He was assistant coach there, and they had some great defense. They had great players, but they had a great defense. Their scheme was hard to go against. It was very sound. It was multiple, did different things, and as his players' talents changed, they changed what they did, and he was very difficult to go against at different times. And then, of course, what he's evolved to and doing different things. What I love, he's always been a 4-down guy, but he went to 3-down package at Ole Miss because of the personnel they had, which shows you, to me, how good a coach he is, what he does, being able to adapt to his personnel. And I think his diversity, his knowledge, his wisdom, and been around a long time. And I think he did a great job for us in spring.
All right, Coach, we're straight down this middle aisle, about 3/4 of the way back.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Coach. Lance Griffin with Wolf Radio in Dothan, Alabama. Commissioner said earlier this week that college football isn't going back to what it was before.
Yep.
But he also said it doesn't have to be what it is now. What is the sweet spot for college football? What makes sense?
I think some kind of uniformity. I think that's what he's talking about. I mean, change is the conference is going to change a little bit. They're going to move the rules. But I think the NIL, the uncertainty of NIL and the difference in the rules per state, what you can do and how you can do it, affects recruiting. And listen, at the end of the day, we can coach all we want. You got to have good players. And you got to be able to get that uniformity together and create some kind of balance that everybody has the same rules about what you can and cannot do. And I think that's what I think he's talking about. But like you say, change is inevitable. Life's always going to change. It's always going to move, and you either got to adapt or get ran over. And I think that, to me, that's probably what he's talking about. And whether the transfer portal, I don't know where that goes either, where the situations with that. And I think that's where we're such chaos is everything's hit. You've got conference realignment, you've got NIL, then you've got NIL on top of transfer portal. So, I mean, when you're putting, that's 3 major changes in everything we've done for how long? I mean, I don't know how many years it's been. I mean, and everybody, and what we're all scared of. What's human nature make you scared of? The unknown. And we have so much unknown, and that's why we're all on edge and panicked about what's going on.
All right, we have time for a few more. If you have a question, raise your hand, and we'll get a microphone to you.
Daggone. See, get all your information in a short amount of time, we can get out of here.
Very efficient. We're going to start up here in the second row.
Judy Armand, WZZN Radio, Huntsville, Alabama. Coach, in this NIL area you talked about, you've dealt with talent and players throughout your career, but how now do you balance it with a freshman coming in, high profile, like an Evan Stewart, who looks like he's going to be a big impact guy in your program, with the returning players, and how do you kind of manage the locker room?
Well, I think we've always recruited at a high level at different places I've been, whether it's LSU, whether it's Florida State. And my competition, honesty, and the best players play. If you're the best player, you play. And it's about competition. I think great players respect that. And I think it makes them raise their game. But I think the honesty and communication is the key. Communication is the key to everything. And I think that's where we got disenchanted in college football, to answer your question. I mean, there was no communication on it, and all of a sudden, instead of ready, aim, shoot, it was ready, shoot, aim. And everybody just started implementing rules, and everybody was panicking. There was no communication. There was no unification. And I think that's what you have to do as a coach. That's our job, to make sure they understand what we do, how we communicate with them. And listen, it's open competition. I ain't seen a rule in the rule book that says freshmen can't play, but I ain't said one that says they have to play. That's all up to them based off the competition and the opportunities they have. And I think that's where you have to be in your locker room to always be on top of those things and have a good, fresh line that kids can talk to you, you can talk to them. And I think as long as you communicate, you can always work out every problem.
Okay, we'll stay over here on the left side, fourth row back.
More of a philosophical question here.
Yes, sir.
With the combination of NIL and the transfer portal, what would you like to see as far as like hard deadlines for transfer dates? I know the SEC has a different date from the rest of the college football.
You know, the dates I think are very important because it does unify you, but at the end of the day, they're still going to leave. I mean, whether it's just in that time frame or the other time, they already have it planned all the way up. So, I mean, I don't think that's going to have a huge effect, but it is as far as your roster management, maybe for practices and things that, you know, if you lose them during the season, you got bowl practices and spring practice, those types of things. You either know right before spring or after spring if they need to go through it. So I think from that regard, it'll be there. Man, the unification thing is just give us all the same rules. I mean, in the NIL, just give us all what each state can actually do and what you cannot do. And to me, that's the rules we have. Just so we all have the same rules, you can't complain. You know what I'm saying? And then whether you have haves or have not, but has there always been haves and have-nots in college football? Has there ever been true competitive balance in college football? There's always been the haves and have-nots. It's just this is affecting it in a different way. And so those are things I think, but as long as you get unification, it should be fair.
Okay, we'll go straight down in front of me, about midway back.
David Nuno, Texas again, Jimbo. Just with tight end being so important to your offense and Jalen moving on to the NFL, can you tell us a little bit about the guys that you have there and how they have to grow up quickly?
Yeah, I mean, Max Wright, who we've moved to tight end, has done a really nice job. He's very physical, learning to become a better receiver, good hands, plays very consistent with what he's doing. Blake Smith is a guy who's really emerging out, has really good ball skills, is running, was a quarterback his whole life, but big body, athletic, very instinctive to play, learning to be physical to line of scrimmage was very important. Garza, who is a very big body guy who was hurt in the spring. We haven't seen as much of, has talent. And then we signed 3 guys. Jake Johnson, who came in the spring, 6'6", 245 pounds. That's Max's brother. Very talented, great hands, great routes, great understanding. Played very well. Didn't play in the spring game, but got hurt right at the end, but played very well. Then you have Theo Mellon, who we went to Sweden. He came over from Sweden, who I think is extremely talented. 6'5", 255 pounds. Can really run, tremendous ball skills, double move guy, and versatility. And then Donovan Green, who came from where Jalen did this, and this guy, he can do it. He was a great basketball player, 240, 45 pounds, catches it so effortless, can run and play. But now, they got to play in this league. They're very talented. How tough, how quick they pick things up. But very excited with the group. And you got to remember, the first 2 years, our first one, Jalen was a guy that played as a freshman. And our first tight end was a freshman, a JUCO transfer that we put in 1 year. So hopefully we can get that same production out of him.
Coach, we'll take one final question here, second row, right on.
Yes, sir.
Mark Passwaters with Rivals. Speaking of fast talkers, what drew you to Steve Adazio when you came to replacing Josh Henson?
Well, one, I coached against him when he was at Florida. Had tremendous offensive lines, very physical. Then he took the head job at Temple and had great linemen. Then he took the head job at Boston College. And we had when I was at Florida State, man, our defensive fronts were gifted. We had a lot of first, second round draft picks. They blocked them as well as anybody. They had a couple guys in there that got drafted high, but a bunch of guys that were just blue-collar guys, and their schemes, their toughness, their physicality, and I always had great respect for Steve. The way they blocked us, the way they got after us, the physicality they played with, the consistency they played with, our guys hated playing those guys. And they knew how to do all the, they were so fundamentally sound but tough, and you give a guy great talent like that, and he coached, and I think he's off my tree as far as he's tough love. He loves to coach hard, be physical, but then he puts his hand around him and loves them hard when they're off the field. And I think our personalities match, and he has a great passion to be an offensive line coach and his recruiting, and just had great respect. I've sat in head coaches, man. I know how he thinks, you know what I mean, for many years, and they battled us, man. They did a great job with some guys that didn't have as much talent as we had, but, man, played great games and did a great job against us. Had great respect for him.
Coach, thank you for your time this afternoon.
Thank you all. Have a great day.